First Things First is sponsored by Ram Trucks, built to serve.
Welcome back. Time now for Four Things First, a collection of things we saw, we love. Brandon, you love the Big Mac sacking Tom Brady.
I love this. Nick, yesterday you tried to poke holes in my keys to the game. I talked about protecting the old man, Tom Brady. Is this a sack? No, not the Tom Brady sack, but Tristan Wirfs. He sacks Tom Brady, then he goes to the right tackle that's playing lights out and sacks him. It's amazing. This guy's like 350 pounds. He just slings them with one arm.
Grown man strength.
Hip toss.
As we called it.
Yeah, hip toss.
An N1 from Mike Evans.
Hey, no big deal. Tom Brady to Mike Evans. Mike Evans gets up and says, and one. I was like, oh, Mike Evans just reinvented football as we know it. From now on, no declining pass interference. You just get and one. You don't have to kick the extra point. Mike Evans, congratulations. You reinvented a major American sport. Bravo.
All right, exec of the year, Mr. Lawrence Frank.
Yeah, listen, I don't know who else you could have given it to. When you have one executive in L.A., trade 7 first-round picks and 2 good players for Paul George, otherwise known as Way Off P, and the other exec in L.A. gave up less for Anthony Davis. When you have one exec in L.A. give up 2 first-round picks and Mo Harkless for Marcus Morris, and the other exec in L.A. gets his better identical twin brother for free, I just don't know who you give the award to. When you have one exec in L.A. say we need to fill rim protection, so he dusts off the smoky corpse of Joakim Noah, and the other gets Dwight Howard on the minimum, I just don't know who you give the award. Oh, you didn't like it? You don't like the Joakim Noah slander? Sorry. Good job, Lawrence Frank. I'm glad the Clippers will have something for their trophy case this year.
All right, it has been a bittersweet week for that guy, Jason Garrett. So, the sweet, okay, his former team, the team that didn't give him an extra contract, right? The Dallas Cowboys just gave up 49 points to the Browns last week, and Jason Garrett's like, yeah, until he realized the only team worse than the Dallas Cowboys in his division are his winless 0-4 New York Football Giants. So what do you do if you are Jason Garrett? What you really want to do is hone in on the things you are good at. You see he had this quote at the bottom of the screen. You certainly want to really do the things you're good at. The second part of that sentence, there wasn't even breath in between, is what really had me howling. The second part is, if only we could discover what those things are. You certainly want to be good at the things you are good at. We just don't know exactly right now. We got to just discover, if only we could figure out what those things are. Jason Garrett, a quarter of the season down, it's going to be a pretty tough year for you and those G-men. But we get to see you and the Cowboys on Sunday. All right, let's head to Cleveland now. 3-1 Browns hosting the 3-1 Colts. I'll say it, pivotal AFC showdown. Browns, red-hot offense. Colts, stifling defense. All eyes are on Odell, who says he's feeling stronger and faster than last year. Mike Vick's back with us. Mike, what do you make of Odell's mentality heading into the Browns matchup with an elite Colts defense?
I think this is Odell's way of indirectly telling the Cleveland Browns and Baker Mayfield to just throw me the damn ball. Better yet, just put the ball in my hands somehow, some way, reverses, receiver passes, whatever it's going to be. Just get me the ball, and I like this from Odell. He knows his place. He knows his positioning. He knows he's one of the best receivers in the game still. And a receiver like Odell, he knows when he's open. He knows when he's not. So he's being very demanding right now through his talk. I like his actions. I like what he's saying. I like him stepping up and being a leader. You know, we've been saying this for a long time. The offense got to run through Odell in order for the Cleveland Browns to even have a slight chance at winning the game against the Indianapolis Colts this week. Give Odell the damn ball. He deserves it.
Nice.
Yeah, but Mike, I want to pull back some layers right now, because 2 weeks ago he came out and said, you know what, I'm accepting that, you know, it's not going to be a big year for me. I'm gonna accept just being average, right? And that's showing that I am growing. And now he's coming out and he's saying, oh, I am faster, I'm stronger than I was. To me, it's confusing, it's conflicted. And I think the reason why is because there's wide receivers. And I want to get your perspective on this because if you play with any wide receivers that you had to pull to the side and just say, look, man, this is the situation. We're trying to get you the ball, or maybe you should approach it differently, because I feel like Odell should feel comfortable in his own skin walking into the facility and demanding greatness, not out of himself and also out of his teammates, holding people accountable. Like, you should never walk in and say, I want to be average, because Odell, like you said, he knows he's one of the greatest wide receivers in the game, one of the great receivers in the game right now. He knows he can go for 1,500 yards a year, 15 touchdowns. He knows that. So why would you settle for less? I think that the challenge for us wide receivers at time, Mike, is how we communicate that. You know, like, how do we walk into the facility and communicate with the head coach, communicate with the offensive coordinator, communicate with the quarterback? Like, listen, I want to be great, but I want to win. Let's start there first. Team is always first. I want to win, but second, I want to be great. And I think Odell's in this interesting moment, Mike, where he's trying to figure out how to communicate with the people around him.
Yeah, and I also think that Odell has watched Baker Mayfield in its entirety and watched him closely. And everything that Baker says is scrutinized. He's saying too much. He's not saying enough. And I think he has his quarterback's back to a certain extent, to where he kind of, you know, just takes the backseat, or he's taking the backseat and watched everything happen and unfold. It's not the case now. Odell in this sixth year, you know, it's time for him to step up. You know, it's nothing wrong with him being a leader. He's earned that right to speak up and speak out and let his teammates hear his voice. And that's going to reverberate around the locker room. And, you know, he'll continue to gain respect, the utmost respect from his peers. And it's just time for, you know, this team in its entirety to step up big and accept the challenges that they are facing, because, you know, at the end of the day, you know, this team will be heavily scrutinized if they don't make the playoffs, and it's time for voices to be heard. You know, I expect Jarvis Landry, and I expect, you know, guys like, you know, Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett to step up big time and start being a voice, you know, for this football team. So I'm excited about what Odell is doing. I expect them to have a big week this week, and it's all going to be predicated on how Baker Mayfield find ways to get Odell the ball.
I also think Odell's feeling emboldened for a couple of reasons. Not just because he's finally fully healthy, but also because of how that game ended. We all know, Jarvis early in the game throws the bomb to Odell on the trick play. It was a great throw by Jarvis. But that final play of the game, or the final meaningful play of the game, which we're going to show you in a second, the more I watch it, the more absolutely insane it is to me that they called this play and that it didn't end in disaster. If you remember the context of it, the Cowboys had all the momentum, if that's a thing you believe in. They were going to, if they forced a 3-and-out, have plenty of time, and they were down only 3 points. And on first down, they run a reverse to Odell that, by the way, the defensive end almost bats down the toss. That would have been a turnover. And then almost gets Odell for a 12-yard loss. So, and if he gets tackled in the backfield there, we are talking about the Cowboys once again pulling one out of the fire. And we're talking about a meltdown in Cleveland. Jenna would still be on a high if it's 6 days later talking about the way that game went. Jenna's a little high just thinking about the possibility of it. So I do wonder, Wilds, if part of why Odell is speaking the way he is right now is he watched that film too. And I wonder if when he's watching the film there was a moment of, God dog it, man. Look at what I did. Like, look, I know he knows how good he is, but seeing it on Brandon,
Nick, let me tell you. Let me tell you, to that point of him watching film, this is what's happening. When you watch film come Monday, if you didn't watch it on Sunday on the plane or when you landed, what you're looking at is all the missed opportunities. So you're looking at, man, I was backside. It was 3rd and 1. we went the other direction. We didn't get it, then we had to punt. So Odell is probably looking at those missed opportunities and looking at like, man, I could have went for 200 more yards and we would have won this game easily. So to your point,
exactly.
I think it's a good one. But I just think that Odell needs to, it starts with him and how he communicates with his team. Because for me, my first 4 years, I struggled being able to walk into the locker room and talk to my quarterback, talk to the offensive coordinator, like, look, how can I help the team? I'm seeing this on film. I feel that I can beat this guy in this way, but it came off the wrong way. It took me year 5, year 6 to be able to walk up to, a Fitzpatrick, a Jay Cutler and say, look, this is what I'm seeing. Here's 3, 4 plays where if we do this, we can beat them. The Cincinnati Bengals did it against this team last year, then this is the example. And when I started communicating that way, I started seeing them respond to me in a healthier way. So Odell's in an interesting point right now in his career where he's learning how to control his emotions and then also communicate.
Mike, I want to read you some stats from the Colts defense that are just like best in the league. Their longest play they've given up is 33 yards through the air. They've given up 637 yards through the air total. 159 yards a game, 5 TDs. So when you're going up against a stout defense, to me, it feels like there's 2 avenues. Do you get more conservative, let's play our game, or do you start doing weird stuff like we saw in the Dallas game, Jarvis Landry throwing the ball and these weird reverses from Odell? So do you expect the Browns to get more conservative or more creative?
No, I expect the Cleveland Browns to come out and try to run the football. I think last week, they established that they are a true heavily run-oriented team, and they can win football games like that. So the test is going to be in the trenches for the Cleveland Browns. And the Colts is a very stout, very ball-controlled defense. They understand, gap assignments and alignments, and they do a great job of, getting stops in the backfield and getting to the quarterback. But this is going to be a great test for the Cleveland Browns. I think this is their biggest challenge yet. And it'll tell us a lot about the Cleveland Browns and how good of a football team they really are.
Okay, I can tell you right now, but we'll save it for after the game. Michael Vick, thank
Brady
you. Have a great weekend.
LeBron rings.
All right, you too.
Or an apparent blunder by the GOAT. Next,
TB12.
first things first.